Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is The Angry Chicken. I'm Garrett, here as always with Jocelyn, and we are also joined today by our guest, Slysssa, because I don't know if any of you noticed, but there's been a major update to Battlegrounds. We've now had a week with it, and this is what we do on The Angry Chicken. We instead of doing hard work and figuring it out ourselves, we invite Slysssa on and go, Slysssa, I'm losing too much. How do I stop losing?
That fix my game, please.
Here, Slysssa.
Actually accurate.
I mean, more or less.
Happy to do it. I mean, I play so many hours a day. I would like to use my knowledge for good.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's subjective, right? So if people are listening to you and beating people more frequently on their Battlegrounds lobby, then the people they're beating probably think you're using your knowledge for bad.
For evil.
True. Yeah. Every time some sort of build starts to pop off, I'm like, I did this because I taught them. But not really. I don't have that far of a reach. But
well, every time I lose to a comp I've never seen before in a lobby, I do shake my fist at the monitor and go, Slysssa!
She did this. She taught them about Gold Grubber.
Why?
That was a callback. Yeah. So we've had just a hair over a week with the Elementals patch, and I believe all three of us had a pretty rough first 24 hours with the patch.
It was not my favorite. Absolutely. The heroes were okay. There were obviously some ones that were more powerful than others, but man, the ladder didn't feel fun. That thing was just weird. It's like, hey, you get 0 points, then 3, then none. Are you having fun yet? I was like, no, Hearthstone, I'm not.
It's just, I was sitting there +0, +0, +0. I played all day one. At the end of it, I gained 603 on one account. That means I won 2 games streaming all day long. That's top 4, right? You get 300 for top 4. I got,
unless you tie, that's where your 3s and 4s come from.
3 points. Yeah, so it was like +0, +0, +0, +0. I was pounding my head, and I got +3. I'm like, okay, I have 3 MMR. Like, this is so embarrassing, and I just wanted to cry. I was just like, I've never felt so frustrated in my life. Now, the next day, I just went, wee, and and climbed all the way back up to where I started, and it felt like I didn't reset, because now I'm back to where I was, but, But
that first 24 hours just wasn't the greatest.
It was not fun. And now I'm no longer getting my +300. So now I'm getting 50 points for a second, and I'm like, no, where's my 69?
Yeah,
so I'm sad again.
Yeah, I haven't had that experience. I mean, I don't play as much as you do. I'm not like a full-time Battleground streamer. I game hop, but I haven't really had a solid oh man, just consistently getting top 4s and getting a bunch of points until I went over to my EU account where I was like, well, I feel like playing, but I don't want to worry about it too much. And I've just been destroying on my EU account, and my main account on NA is just pulling teeth.
Well, so was your EU account, was it like a Smurf? Did you have a lower MMR over there?
It was only 1,000 points behind my NA account. But however, it's probably worth mentioning that I did have the first time I went over to EU, I got 2 Jandis games, a Rafam game, and a Ragnaros game in order. And I was just like, oh,
you're okay here.
And then day 2, I got 2 Maiev games back to back, and it was just oh, when I get good heroes, I tend to do pretty well. However, I did my very first Ragnaros game. 2 people dropped at the very beginning of the lobby, and I ran into them, I think 4 times within the first 10 turns. And
they had no minions?
They had no minions. So I never my very first experience with Ragnaros, I never finished my hero power, and I got 6th place. I was just
is bad. He's not good. I won't pick him again.
Yeah. So I had a rough time on my NA account.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Totally understand.
Yeah, but that was the opening 24 hours. I too have had a much more kind of consistent experience since, where it hasn't been as 0-0-0 as it was before.
I have those 0 days now. Today was like minus 100, minus 120, minus 120. And I'm like, no.
Well, that's the trade-off around the 0, right? Is that you weren't losing any points, but like for some reason that 0 felt worse somehow. Yeah, it's like when I saw the negative, it was like, okay, I did badly that game. I lost. And that negative kind of reinforced that. But for some reason, the 0 was just that, like, the no progress felt worse. Yeah. I don't know why, which is, it's weird. It's, I guess, a weird psychology thing.
It is, but it's so true because you're just sitting there like, I'm not moving. And I'm so frustrated because it's been 10 hours and I should be moving.
And nothing has happened.
Yeah, the first 2,000 MMR was interesting, though, because there were a couple times before I passed it on my main account where something else happened. I was like, well, I'm top 4. I'm good. I'm just going to go deal with the dogs that need to go out and just not finish the lobby because it didn't matter. It was like 300 or bust in the first 2,000 MMR. So
I asked the developers about that because I heard of a streamer who was just quitting every time they got top 4. They top 4 quit, top 4 quit, top 4 quit to grind the ladder faster. But according to the devs, that would like reduce their internal MMR. Therefore, they're going to hit a wall faster and stop getting the 300s earlier. So,
oh well. I mean, I did get like 7 zeros in a row, so I'm sure I already did enough legitimate damage to my hidden MMR. But
well, and that's interesting though, because that seems like something that isn't necessarily like public knowledge. Because I had the same thought. I was like, it feels like I should just be. I think I said this in your chat too, Slysssa, when I was watching you get a bazillion zeros too. And I was
I'm glad you were there.
Yes, I know. I was with you every step of the way, and I just like I was getting to top 4, and I was like, wait, so I get 300 for 4th place. I get 300 for 1st place. So why am I spending all this time in here? And yeah, I feel like not a lot of people kind of maybe realize that it impacts your internal MMR because that's, again, the number you can't see. And what we've always been told from the standard side of things is very much that your MMR will not be impacted that much like season over season, right? So your bonus stars shouldn't really change too much unless you're consistently doing something, like unless you're hitting a new level of heights or you're consistently much lower than they think that you should be based on like your win rate or however they calculate it. So I was kind of thinking, I'm like, oh, well, you know, like maybe this will impact me next season, but I can also probably just win more once I get up to where I'm supposed to be and, you know, negate all of this conceding down below. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm just like, this is the reason why I wish that they would show us that number. So I would know that, hey, yeah, me conceding and saving myself 10 minutes is actually going to take me longer to get higher in the long run. So, yeah.
So I wanted to pick your brain just about the meta overall, because it's a conversation we're going to have, you know, whether we had a guest on or not. It's just like, how do we feel about the post-elemental meta? So I figured we'd start with heroes. And so I think Ragnaros we just say is broken and move on, right? Is there anything to talk about there besides Ragnaros is so overtuned it's hilarious?
I mean, once you get to late game, your job is to scale. So a lot of people, when they struggle with late game, it's because they're not or mid to late games because they're not scaling their comp. Once you have things that work well together, you need to make them bigger in size. Size matters until it doesn't because there's poison with the Vine Shield. And it does matter. But, you know, at the beginning, it really does matter. And so you normally have to spend a lot to get the size. You need to get either a brand or a little rag. Little rag counts now. And buy buff cards. And that costs money. And it takes up spots on your board. Now this costs no money. 0, 0, 0. And it takes up no spots on the board. And it's good spots. It's not random buffs. You know exactly what minions are getting buffed. So let's compare it to the new Rakanishu or whatever his name is. I don't know because I don't play him. He costs
Trash Anishu.
Trash Anishu.
Oh, exactly. But he's so cute.
Costs 2. And at most we'll get 6/6 buff, which, okay, Ragnaros is 8/8 buff. And Rakanishu, that would cost 2 to get never near as much buff, 6/6. and you'd have to level to tier 6 by that point, which is very expensive. So it's just like literally impossible for how do these two heroes come out at the same time and be like, yeah, they're probably balanced. Like there's no balance.
Those
there.
seem the same.
It's fine. So it's just like, wait.
Well, and according to HS Replay right now, Rag's win rate is higher even than Tyrion's at his peak by like a significant placement margin. I think it's only like 0.5 higher than Tyrion at his peak. Like it's so overpowered. It's crazy. I think in the first 24 hours, it was very close to just second. Like you come second or first with Rag, and that's it. There's like no one pulling him down.
I go and grab my wine when I'm playing Rag. I'm like, all right. I'm just going to play some tempo cards. I'll grab a couple divine shields. I'm going to go with some wine. And then, I'll just put them on the side. It'll be fine. Look at you.
I just took every Selfless Hero I saw along the way, and eventually things started getting +8. My board started getting +8. It was fine. It just worked out.
No worries.
Yeah, and back to recognition.
I'm the reason why it's like not a first place. It's probably second place because of me, because I'm like, I'm not trying. I'm just gonna let it run itself.
We call that the canned wine strategy.
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, and Josh, you mentioned HS Replay statistics for Ragnaros. On average, speaking again of Rakanishu, like the best you can hope for is that tier 6 buff you get from Rakanishu, right? But Rag on average is completing his hero power by turn 7. Is Rakanisha going to be at tier 6 on turn 7? I mean, maybe, and then we'll be dead on turn 8, but
I think I can use the economy properly to do that ever. Like, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you can, even with the pirate that discount. Like, if you got that pirate every turn, well, you couldn't even really buy him because you have to be leveling up.
Because if you sell your token to level on 5 gold, then you sell your other token to level on 6 gold, and then you're on 4, and then you can't level to 5 on 7 gold because you don't have a token anymore. So you can't get there.
Yeah,
but if you did it, Ragnaros would not complete his hero power because you sold all your minions.
Which is the kind of counterplay that you need to do when Rag is in your lobby, when you see that you're going to be facing him, but there's parts of the game where that just isn't a possibility anymore, right? So it's like, what do you, it just feels bad to just like buy your minions and not play them because you're like, oh, well, if I don't play them, Rag can't kill them. Like, that's gross.
Yeah, and that actually helps Rag because it reduces damage so he can get to the better minions faster. So then he's just in the game longer. And if he's in the game longer, he's fine.
There's no winning against him.
Counter. Yeah. The counterplay is not to pick token minions.
Yeah.
Because if you don't pick token minions, so Rat Pack moving to 3 was actually a good thing for Ragnaros, or like a good thing for everyone who isn't Ragnaros. Because if people are buying Rat Packs early, Rag would kill at least 3 out of 1, stuff like that. So don't pick tokens versus him.
Yeah, and then, Jandis, Maiev, Lich King, the usual suspects are still like a notable cut above the rest in terms of average placement, but still in Rag's shadow.
Yeah.
Like, without a doubt. But they still feel like significantly stronger than a lot of the other heroes. And so I wanted to get your thought on just kind of the hero quality spread, because we've talked about it for the past couple of weeks, and I don't remember ever hearing any developers kind of make a statement, because I'm curious if their goal is even I don't think they want all the heroes to be super equal power level, because that would, you wouldn't have a lot of variety if that was the goal.
Right. You got to give everyone a little time in the sun. Like, they knew when they buffed Lich King that Lich King would be finally like very playable. And you can see the tiniest little thing from 1 gold to 0 gold made him insane. Because he used to be where it was 1 gold and was your far right minion. And then they changed it to any minion, which we thought would be really powerful. And turns out it wasn't. And then they made it, okay, but 0 gold? Okay, insane, right? So these tiny little details can shift very far. So it is hard to balance the meta, because the tiniest change can make something from super underwhelming to super OP. But there's so many or heroes you're like, how did this not get stopped early? Kind of like Ragnaros. But the concept of Ragnaros was let's bring him back way more powerful. But they wanted to keep the 8/8 flavor because that's Ragnaros, right? So that's why they did 4/4, 4/4 on the buff, because it kept the Rag flavor. So if they want to keep that flavor, they have to increase the minions that you kill off. So that'd be from 20 to 30 or 25. And I think they will. But I think when they bring back a hero, they want you guys to play the hero. They kept it in their sights because they want people to experience that hero again. With Patches, who they brought back, kind of the same situation, brought him back with Pirates. People love the flavor and they love Patches, but he's a bit underwhelming. But one of the most fun heroes to play. And I think they were trying to do that with Rag and make sure he got played, but a little too much.
Yeah, too far.
The nice thing with Battlegrounds is they're always changing the meta. And so I'm guaranteeing that they're probably going to change the meta in the next 3 weeks, and it's probably going to change. And it's easy to change, so I'm sure we'll see a nerf there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we have too many heroes now so that the offerings don't feel as great? Because I feel like I'm getting offered heroes from the pool. Like there's some of the new ones I still haven't played. I think I've only had one Rag game. I think I've been offered Alec here 2 or 3 times, and I haven't even seen the others because the pool's just so big now that even like with the the Tavern Pass, I'm in my 4 hero offerings. Yeah, no, not the Battle Pass. Not the Battle Pass.
Not yet, anyway.
Not
soon.
yet. Yeah. I'm still only being offered. Like sometimes I look and I'm like, oh man, like these 3 or 4 heroes are, tier 3, tier 4. Like these just don't feel great. Like, and even with 4 hero offerings, you don't get a good hero all the time. So I like, what do you feel about the size of the hero pool now? Because it's been a while since they've kind of chopped it down.
Yeah. So what they used to do was they used to offer 3 heroes to everyone. And there was always exactly 24 heroes in the pool. They would take heroes out when they put them in. And now they need more than that because there could be up to 32 offered. And we have over 50 now. So there's going to be at least 18 per round that you do not see. This is actually better when there's a couple heroes that are too overpowered, because you need to, maybe there's lobbies that Ragnaros isn't offered to anyone, and that would make the lobby more fair. But at the same time, I feel like there's certain heroes that I get offered every time, and I'm like, stop offering me Queen Wag Toggle. I'm not gonna pick her.
She's everywhere.
Every time I pick Sir Finley, Wag Toggle shows up. I'm like, no, stop it. And I think they need to take the time to take those heroes out that no one's picking and no one wants to pick and are proven bad, bad, boring, the ones people just don't want.
Bad and also not fun, right? Because there's times where I'm left with I'm like, I don't know, who's at the very bottom here that I actually like playing. Okay, Dino Tamer Bran. Terrible average placement, but I love playing him. Same with Curator.
Yeah.
And
these people pick them because they're fun.
Yeah.
So leave those in. And I don't know. But at the same time too, there is a power creep in heroes going on, and that's going to make games end faster or feel worse when you just take so much damage. So I think we need to lessen the power creep, turn it down a smidge, and then also take out some of the bad heroes as well, so that we tighten up that I don't know, the graph, just tighten it up. We don't need too many outliers.
The curve of quality.
The curve of quality. I love it.
Let's flatten that curve. Sorry. It's just in my brain. And then the other thing that also seems to me a little out of whack is elementals in general. I think play-wise, they're awesome. I am so impressed with the design of these minions and how they interplay with one another. But oh my god, am I getting run over by freaking elementals?
And they're in every lobby too, right? Which is, because they just got introduced, they're just everywhere all the time. So since it's such a powerful tribe and they're everywhere, it almost feels even worse than dragons and pirates. I don't know why, but they just, they're running over my face.
Yeah.
The problem is that they're powerful. They have two tier 5 minions that are the key pieces, right, to build it out. And that's just too early. It's too early. There's no more 4 drops that are decent. Like, because it's like, why stop at 4 when you can get to 5, right? And so people are just skipping over tier 4 and just getting straight to 5. And if you hit the minions, you're going to run over your whole lobby. If you don't hit the minions, like, oh, I'm going to lose, whatever. And that's kind of how it is, where it used to be, okay, you need to pick up some good 4s so that you can stabilize before you get to your 6s, because 6 should be the most powerful. It's the highest tier. But for some reason, it is not the most powerful. 5 is insane right now because 2 of the key pieces for elementals are sitting at 5 waiting for you. And it should honestly be like maybe one's at 5 and one's at 6, so that, right? Because like Mama Bear is at 5 and Goldrin's at 6.
Yeah, and at one point they swapped, right? They used to be the other way around. And yeah, I see a lot of beasts in elementals in the way that functions.
Yeah.
And I was I was coming into this episode with similar feelings about kind of the spread of quality in tier 6, and I'm wondering how much of that is just I am, for the most part, unless I just stumble across an early little rag, ignoring elementals because it's still pretty contested in terms of the draft pool.
Right.
And so when I'm discovering into tier 6 or I'm just at tier 6, it just feels like there's no good minions because I'm also running across the elemental tier 6s, which not only are not the most interesting elemental cards or strongest elemental cards, but they're basically useless if you're not already elementals.
You can transition into elementals if you get Genie, but Gar really doesn't work unless you're going a Nomi strategy. And then he's super cool. He's super fun. But yeah, he doesn't, he buffs based on how many elementals you have. So if you don't have any, you're like, well, he's an 8-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's exacerbating my feeling of rolling, like discovering six drops and just being like, oh my God, what is it? I have a board full of dragons and I've got a Genie, a Gar, and a Zap Slywick. Thanks, Bob.
Exactly.
I appreciate
There's so many whiffs on 6 because, I mean, if there's no dragons in the lobby, especially, like 6 is just so sad. You're like, why would I go to 6? There's a Malgadon there, that's it. And if dragons are in the lobby, it's slightly different, but the problem is dragons don't scale as fast as elementals scale. The only way they do is if you're like Maev and you can power level to 6 and get double Caligos, and then you're fine because then you get Nadina as well, and then you're just like, haha, I have Divine Shields. You know, just kidding, you do because you have Selfless. Everyone buys that card now.
Yeah. That was the first adjustment I made this meta. I was like, I'm just going to buy Selfless every chance I get. And it's been working. It has severely helped my average placement. But
funny how it used to be like, I call them my fiber cards, right? The card up front that dies and does something. And N'Zoth used to be the best. It's like you buy Spawn of N'Zoth. It's such a good fiber piece and it's a buffer. And now that's just like a bit of a mid-range card and you have to get rid of that and get the Divine Shields going as soon as possible.
Yeah, it helps, Yeah. N'Zoth definitely is like that bridging the gap minion. Whereas Selfless is now the star, which that's fine. I think that's kind of cool. I like when existing minions and their kind of place in the meta shift.
That's true. Get their time to shine.
Yeah, like you were talking about with the heroes, except it's like we're talking about 2 cards that haven't been changed. Selfless Hero and Spawn of N'Zoth are the same.
Technically, Selfless Hero has been changed, but he wasn't good. So Selfless Hero used to be able to Divine Shield something that already had Divine Shield.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That was a huge change when they made that.
Yeah, they changed it back.
We were coming up on 1 year of Battlegrounds, and it's kind of crazy to think about how much upheaval there's been in its meta in a year. Especially when I think about like, as long as we've been covering Hearthstone as a whole, and I think about like the older years of Standard where it was just like, we got 2 balance patches this year, and one of them was like 2 cards. And yeah, it's just Battlegrounds is, as you mentioned, it moves at a good pace. So
yes,
that's why I'm not complaining on Twitter every day about the Battlegrounds meta.
Just every other day.
At a good pace of complaining.
You have to
I try to do the same. I try not to complain too much, but last this plus zeros, I was a bit on the keyboard, and then today I think I was a bit on the keyboard with my
I was
on the new meta.
I was so annoyed on whatever day it was that you made that tweet that I was like, I'm going to go to the grocery store, get something I actually want to cook for dinner. And I was in the line checking out when I saw your plus zero. How did yours go? When I made my reply, I was like, yes, thank you. I hate this. I'm so angry. I was
You
so,
get
so
nothing.
salty. So is there any kind of general tips you would give? You put out a tweet today saying, oh, hey, taking 30 damage. I'm misquoting it horribly, but that was happening to me a ton where it just felt like, why am I taking over 20 damage on turn 8? Like, what happened? Where did I go wrong in this strategy? Obviously, I think Selfless Hero has come up about 17 times in this talk we're having. But beyond drafting Selfless Hero, are there common mistakes you're seeing, that you think?
Yeah, you're not high rolling enough.
Salty.
Okay, but here's the actual. So when I'm taking tempo heroes, are normally very strong because you win the early game. So that's your Yogg, your Kael'thas, stuff like that. Are heroes that give you some sort of early game economy or buff to your minions. So Kael'thas buffs every third minion, and Yogg buffs once a turn, plus it's cheaper. So these are your early game heroes that do well. And what you have to do is you have to create a power spike with them. The problem is all these other heroes have these insane power spikes right now. So you could be first place with these tempo heroes. And you're like, all right, I got 40 health and I'm getting to tier 5. Fine. And then all of a sudden you're like, bam, 20, bam, 20, I'm dead. And you're like, wait, what? I was in first. Like, I was winning. Like, I was doing everything on curve and I was doing what I needed to do. There was nothing else I could have done. I tried to power level as I could. But the problem is all these other heroes have these huge tempo swings right now. So my advice is to take those heroes. You need to take the heroes that have these aggressive swings, which is Maiev, Rafam, Sky, Captain Crag actually has a huge swing because you get this huge economy burst, stuff like that. So the heroes that have the big swings, you have to go for that. And you have to go for a swing on a tier 5. And if you whiff, you got to level to 5 and 5, the swing as fast as possible. Yeah.
Is there anyone else, any other like sleepers or kind of like, oh, I didn't get like you mentioned Crag, who I think I would put under the sleeper category because it's not what anyone is complaining about or getting upvotes on Reddit talking about.
Omu is a sleeper, I guess. Like Omu does really well. Mm-hmm. It just, anything that can power spike with a level. Omu maybe. It's hard for me to think of all the heroes right now because it's like not fresh on my mind. I'm pulling them up as we speak. Millhouse is insane right now. I'm obsessed with Millhouse.
Millhouse is my jam.
So many
you know what it is
with elementals.
It's the refreshing anomaly, right?
Yeah, refreshing anomaly, and there's a new token too as well, right?
Yeah, the Celemental.
Celemental?
Yes.
Yeah, which also has upped Daryl's stock because more things for dancing on a good old dancing Daryl there.
Daryl's really good right now. He's one of those only like tempo-y.
I feel like
heroes.
I need to go back to school on Daryl. He used to be my most consistent hero, and I have been getting just rocked when I play Daryl post Elemental. So I feel like my previous understanding of how to curve out with him is no longer relevant because it's not
there's
working.
Just there's an extra Divine Shield minion on 3, so there's more chance of hitting the 3 drops to sell on them and buff them up. But that was like one of the main buffs with him. But then Millhouse just Millhouse is all about is a strength to people who know how to be economy oriented while leveling and getting to a powerful late game. Yeah. And now there's new minions and elementals that add to that. Pirates added to that. And with Millhouse, he used to try triple into a 6-drop, try and get Caligos and go off with that. Because then you just need to buy every battle cry. And now you just need to go into a 5 drop and get Nomi or Ragnaros, little Rag. Nomi's actually better for Millhouse, and then you can pop off. So you can pop off even earlier, which is kind of what we've been saying. Like level 5 key pieces are making people just pop off early, and that's why people are taking so much early damage.
Yeah, no, that all makes a ton of sense. Personally, I've done really well with Kael'thas. For some reason, Nozdormu isn't working out for me. I have no idea why. You'd think more free rolls would be working out. Yeah. Those are my own kind of anecdotal experiences. But, well...
The only reason Nas would be good is because you have to triple into a 5 as soon as possible. And so you can pair game with Nas better. But like just like building out good mid game isn't a thing anymore. There's no such thing as like mid game. People are asking me, why am I dying in the mid game? Like, there's no mid game. The game right now,
the mid game is Bronze Warden. It feels like to me.
Is what?
It like the mid game is Bronze Warden. It feels like to me. Like to be, it's a little reductive, but also I kind of believe this. It feels like the games where I find Bronze Warden are easy, and the games where I don't find Bronze Warden, I just don't top 4 most often.
Right now the games go, you need to buy tempo stats. And so on tier 3, that's your tempo stat because it's the best. Tier 3 is Bronze Warden, Crackling Star, anything with like Divine Shield, like the best stats on 3. And then finding pairs to triple into the 5, and then you go into the late game from there. Like that's your late game.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is why, I mean, you were saying you need a high roll, but I am, I'm looking at the leaderboards, Slysssa. So I'm going to walk that comment back by saying you were currently 51 in NA. So
and
clearly
I
you
was
found
top 20 this morning. So, I low rolled today. I lost 30 ranks.
Well, it doesn't go down low enough to find me. So clearly you found some consistency in a pretty high roll meta. So, I just wanted to point that out. But well, thanks for giving us some tips on how to maybe get a few more points into our Battleground sessions. So, yeah, I guess that'll bring us to the end of this Battlegrounds talk. Folks, if you like this, as always, YouTube still feels weird to me. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. This is available in podcast form. You can find it at theangrychicken.com, or you can just subscribe to it wherever you like to get your podcasts. I hear Spotify is hot these days, I guess. Other than that, Slysssa, since you're our guest, where can people find you if they're somehow unaware of your awesome Battlegrounds content?
I stream every day on twitch.tv/Slysssa, spelled SLYSSA. I also have a YouTube, and on YouTube, I put out tutorial guides along with gameplay. I do try and focus on guides, though. I just put out an elemental guide. So if you're struggling with the elemental stuff, I put out a guide on all the minions and all the comps and all the new heroes. So make sure you check that out.
Chinvala at the bottom?
Yeah.
Or Chinvala. Well, Well, that's going to wrap it up for this video. We'll see you soon. Until then, job's done.